My friend, can I ask you an honest question? Why does it feel like you're about to start a fight every time you want to communicate a boundary? Isn't it awkward sometimes when you need to bring up something like a boundary and you want to communicate your boundaries without offending people, but you feel like just by bringing the subject up, you're going to offend somebody? In fact, studies let us know that 68% of career professionals and business professionals actually avoid communicating boundaries, which leads to resentment, and it also leads to silence. So my friend, what I really want to help you understand is the power, especially from a neuroscience perspective, of setting healthy boundaries. Does that make sense? Because there's no such thing as healthy selfishness. It's actually a beautiful thing. Did you know that according to neuroscience, every time you communicate a boundary effectively, you literally drop and reduce cortisol levels and you rewire the brain towards emotional safety, which is a huge, huge thing if we want to interact with people in a more powerful and profound way. So I'm going to give you 5 strategies that you can utilize to communicate boundaries better without offending people. Number 1, I want you to start off with a soft and honest statement that says, listen, our relationship is important to me, and our interaction really matters to me. However, there's something that happens on a daily basis in our communication that really rubs me the wrong way. Can I share that with you so that way we can remedy that and go on having amazing days together? Look at what I just did. I'm communicating the fact, but I'm communicating in a soft way. Listen, I love our interaction. I love our connection. We spend time together every day. But there's one thing that you're doing that's kind of causing me to feel a little bit chafed in our communication, and I want to address that. So let's say one of your boundaries is how you like to be called, right? Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna use a very, very honest example. So several years ago, many of you all know I received my doctorate degree, my honorary doctorate degree. And it was a very, very emotional experience for me because my mom's been gone for over 12 years now. And this is a hallmark moment in my career that I really, really wanted my mom to be there for, but she wasn't. So I asked God a really, really important question, and I prayed a very hyper-specific prayer to God. I said, God, this is an honorary degree. Am I supposed to move forward with this title of doctor when this is an honorary degree for my 20-year body of work in the personal development space? Or should I just receive the award, put it on my wall, and just continue to go by Delatorro? So I asked God to give me a very, very, very clear sign at the ceremony that I'm supposed to move forward with rebranding with Dr. Delatorro. And God honored that sign. He gave me a very, very, very powerful, exact answer in the actual graduation ceremony that said to me and my entire family, yes, move forward with Dr. Delatorro. So I did that from that moment on. Now, a boundary for me is now, right, 3 years later, I expect everyone who interacts with me to call me Dr. D, Dr. Del, or Dr. Delatorro, right? That's a boundary of mine. Now, I've given people options. You don't have to say the full Delatorro. You could say Dr. Del, or you could say Dr. D, right? I love nicknames. But in all 3 of those modalities, you're gonna put some respect on my name. Does that make sense? Let's go, right? So that's a boundary of mine. Another boundary of mine is when I'm interacting, especially with my guy friends and even female friends, I don't like being called the N-word. I just have never liked it. I don't use it. I don't call other people by it, and I don't like to be called by it. So that's an important deal for me. So that's a boundary of mine. So if, using our first example, if I have great relationships with somebody, but yet this person comes, what's up, you my, and they use the N-word. What up, my, and they use the N-word, right? I'm gonna pull that person to a side and say, hey, you know what? I really, really love our friendship. I love your energy. I love your enthusiasm. I wanna continue to get to know you. However, one boundary for me is I don't like to use derogatory terms to address people. I will never address you by calling you the B word or the N word or the MF word or any other word outside of your name. And I would appreciate the same courtesy and respect back. I also notice that you tend to call me Del because you've known me for the last 3 or 4 years. Well, guess what? When you met Del, that was 4 years ago. This individual that you're interacting with is Dr. Delatorro. So I would appreciate it if you would call me by my full name, and you can use a shortening nickname like Dr. D or Dr. Del, but I would appreciate it if you would do that moving forward. Does that make sense? See how I took a strong boundary of mine, which is what I like to be called, and phrases or words that I do not like to be called. And I articulated it in a way that a person could understand, but I did it in a soft way so it wasn't offensive and it wasn't abrasive. And it lowers defensiveness. So when you start soft and you're honest about the importance of the connection you have with the person, hey, listen, so you might sit down your significant other, spouse, boo, or it's complicated, and say, listen, the end result of this conversation is going to be incredible. We're not going anywhere. We're not breaking up. We're not doing any of those things. We're not taking timeouts. But I need to communicate a couple of boundaries that I have that I feel like have been crossed recently. And by healing those areas where those boundaries have been impacted, I believe that we can have an amazing relationship moving forward. See what I did there? I started soft, but I was honest, and I communicated the meaning of the relationship and how we need to fix this boundary to keep this relationship moving forward. Does that make sense, family? This is beautiful communication, and this is so vitally important. Step number 2, once you have started soft, number 2, focus on your needs, not their faults. I'm gonna say that again slower. Focus on, I'm turning around in my daggone studio seat. Focus on your needs instead of their loss. For example, let's use the example of you coming home from a long day at work and you've been experiencing your significant other, spouse, boo, or it's complicated, rushing you at the front door, running off at the mouth about all the things that happened while you were gone. And you get zero time to come home, put down your briefcase, put down your clothes, put down your iPad, put down your work stuff, and just decompress. And so after a couple of months of this, you're now so annoyed that every time you come home, instead of coming directly in the house, you sit in your car for 20 or 30 minutes. You can easily avoid this by communicating the boundary to your partner. And it sounds like this: communicate, focus on your needs, not their faults. So instead of saying, oh my gosh, how come every time I come home, you nag me as soon as I get to the front door? That's why I don't even want to show up, right? You're attacking the person when you say that. Instead, focus on your needs. You know what, sweetheart? When I first get home, I need about 20 to 30 minutes to just decompress. It's so important because I want to give my best energy to you and the kids. I want to give my best vitality. I don't want to take any work stress out on y'all. So the first thing I need is when I first get home, you can greet me with a kiss, but please take whatever belongings are out of my hand, put them on the table, right? And usher me to my bat cave so I can have 20 or 30 minutes just to decompress. And then when I come out of the bat cave, I'll be ready for you and the family. I can't wait to hear about your day. I can't wait to hear what's going on with the kids, and we can tap back in. Does that make sense? So notice how in principle number 2, focus on your needs instead of their faults. What you did was you communicated a boundary that you need. I need the safety of decompression time when I first get home. And because I wasn't getting it, I was sitting in my car for 30 minutes in the driveway, right? You can get rid of that simply by communicating your boundary, by focusing on what your needs are versus their faults. People don't like to feel attacked. And the moment that you say, listen, this is a need, how can we work together to get this need met? Now in their brain, you've released the empathy for collaboration versus releasing that sense of, oh, I have to defend myself because this person's attacking me. Does that make sense? Let's go to number 3. Use I feel statements. I feel like sometimes my best efforts don't go appreciated. Like, let's say that you do a lot around the house, you're constantly cleaning up the kitchen, you're constantly doing laundry, you're constantly taking care of your pets, and your significant other, spouse, boo, or it's complicated, never acknowledges it. Instead of saying to them, you never acknowledge all the great stuff I do, which makes the person feel what? Attacked. They go into fight or flight, they get defensive, they start attacking back. Instead of that, say, you know what? I feel like sometimes the small things I do around the house get overlooked because we're so focused on the mortgage, the big things, right? The mortgage payment or the taxes, the big stuff. But there's little things that I do around the house that I would really love a little bit more recognition and reward and celebration for. Like how I do the laundry, how I keep the kitchen clean, how I take care of the pets. I feel. Notice how every time I said something, I said, I feel, I feel, I feel. A person cannot tell you how their actions make you feel. I'm gonna say that again slower. A person cannot tell you how their actions make you feel. You get to own, this action makes me feel this way. Even if that's not how you wanted them to feel, you still have to accept the fact that that person is entitled to feel however they feel based upon the actions that you communicated to them. Does that make sense? So it's important that you use I feel statements, because when you use I feel statements, a person really can't argue or disagree with that, because that's how their actions made you feel. And different actions, corrected behavior, improved behavior, better behavior, is what's going to get you to feel differently moving forward. Does that make sense? So it's important, if you want to communicate a boundary, that you use I feel statements, right? Because it activates empathy in the person that's actually crossing the boundary. This is so gangster. Number 4, family, I need you to repeat the boundary consistently, so that way people know that this is something that matters to you. Let me give you a perfect example. Like my daughters are getting older, right? And so my daughters know that I have a rule about music in the house. They've been raised this way. They know that I don't like music that has a lot of cussing in it. And that's just the way I was raised. My mom never let me and my brother listen to music that's got a ton of cussing in it. So I can handle a song that has a few choice words in it. I can't handle when the song's hook, the verse, the chorus, everything is nothing but cuss word after cuss word after cuss word. I personally, it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. Does that make sense? I don't care how slamming the beat is. That's why I love instrumentals. I just listen to the instrumental all day. Does that make sense? But I can't take it when every other word is a cuss word. So my daughters know that. Now watch this. Every now and again, as my daughters have gotten older, right? They come over with friends and their friends want to take control of the Bluetooth around the house, whatever. I just remind them, hey, you know the house rules, right? I just remind, so once you create a boundary, it's going to be important that you reinforce that boundary through repetition. So every time my girls come over, or every time I give them Bluetooth access in my vehicle, if we're driving to a restaurant or driving to a daddy-daughter date, or we're driving to just do anything, run errands, I remind them, hey, clean versions only. What am I doing? Every time I say clean versions only, what am I doing? What am I reinforcing to my daughters? I'm reinforcing an important boundary. Does that make sense? Because every time you say it again, the neural pathways in the brain, it reinforces it, okay? Dad likes clean music. It can be the most amazing ratchet, crunk, twerking song, but it's gotta be instrumental, or it's gotta be clean, because my dad's not gonna tolerate it if it's got a bunch of cuss words in it. Does that make sense? Because I've reinforced that boundary through repetition, my daughters have it in their bones. Does that make sense? Another boundary is I was raised to call people ma'am and sir. So I've trained my daughters to call people ma'am and sir. Now, if I'm around my daughters and I hear them say yeah or no, and not yes sir, no sir, I say, excuse me, what did you say? What? I'm reinforcing the boundary. Does that make sense? That's a boundary that they cross that I'm not cool with. You feel what I'm saying to you guys? So you can communicate boundaries in such a way that people don't feel offended by how you communicate it. And this is so super duper important. And so number 5, another thing I want you to do, family, is celebrate compliance. Now this is huge, because when you celebrate compliance, you actually release dopamine in the brain of the person that actually is doing the boundary interference, if that makes sense. So let's just say this. Let's go back to my daughter's example, right? If they come over to my house and 4 or 5 of their friends all have the Bluetooth access to the speaker, and all night all I'm hearing is amazing dope music, but there's no curse words in it, guess what? 20 minutes into the party, I'm like, man, this is dope. You guys are picking fantastic songs. I love this. 2 hours in, I'm celebrating them. I might even order some extra pizzas to the house to reward them for picking the music that aligns with the boundary. Does that make sense? So reward and celebrate compliance, because then that triggers the reward system in the brain and it makes them want to do more of it. Does that make sense? But here's what happens, family. If you communicate a boundary and then a person starts complying with the boundary and then they don't get reinforcement or reward for complying, that makes them not want to continue to comply. So they're going to comply a little bit, and then after a while, they're going to go right back to their original ways. So if you want to enforce boundaries that stick, reward compliance with the boundary. Listen, do me a favor. I want you to fire off in the comments and let me know which one of these strategies matters the most to you, means the most to you. And I want you to take it a step further. Tell me what one of your boundaries is in the comments below. Let me know what one of your boundaries are and what strategies you've used to communicate that boundary to somebody that you love and care about. I hope and I know that this video blessed your life. Share it with somebody that you know needs to do a better job of learning how to communicate their boundaries to other people. Make sure you like and subscribe. Can't wait to see you in the next video. Let's go.